Hey guys, welcome back to the video. In this video, you guys a spoiler-free review of Death on the Nile. A Belgian sleuth's Egyptian vacation abroad a glamorous river stream turns into a terrifying search for a murder when a picture-perfect couple's idyllic honeymoon is tragically cut short. Before we get into my spoiler-free thoughts on Death on the Nile, make sure to subscribe and turn notifications on for more spoiler and spoiler-free reviews. But without wasting more time, let's get into it. So I'm gonna be very careful with what I say here because I don't want to focus on one character too much, one story too much, because then it'll probably give away who the killer is, or you'll have a better idea of who the killer is. So I want to go in telling you guys about this movie, but spoiler free. So it's going to be difficult, but we'll get it done. So just speaking of this thing as a movie as a whole, I have not read the book, by the way, so I have no context. I had no idea who's going to be the killer. But the thing is, I guessed it within like the early moments of the movie. I'm not going to say like before the title card, after the title card, or whatever, but I just guessed it because I felt like the character gave off those vibes. And so I kind of guessed it from the very beginning, but I didn't guess like the whole plot behind the killer and stuff like that. I only guessed the killer itself, which speaks a lot to, I guess, just the acting of that character and stuff like that. It was just small little hints, but I do want to get into one of my biggest gripes, and this is honestly my only gripe with the movie, but it's just so big that it kind of messes up the whole entire thing. And that's the whole thing at the end of the movie, where whenever the detective finds out whatever happened in the case, he sees a bunch of stuff, and they obviously run through the events just like Knives Out, just like Murder on the Orient Express, all these other mystery movies. They run through all these events that we did see in the movie, but they don't actually run through things that we have seen. They run through everything that we haven't seen behind the scenes of all of these different things that are happening when they kill other characters and when they attempt to kill other characters and stuff like that. So it ends up being a situation where it's like, you know what exactly happened and you understand that, okay, this exact moment is when this happened, because they give context around within the story, but you never actually see any hints toward it normally. Whereas if you look at a movie like Knives Out, for example, you'll see that if you look back in the movie, the parts that Benedict Blank actually goes through in the story at the very end when he's walking through the mystery, you can actually scroll back in the movie and see that these things happen and we could see them. We just had to connect the dots. This movie doesn't do that at all. There's so many moments where it's just like, this happened, but it just happened off camera, or only the detective saw it. So it's kind of stupid because the viewer obviously has no clue how to get to that idea. The reason that is such a big complaint to me is because that's like the whole point of a mystery movie, a mystery murdering story and stuff like that, is that you have to track down the killer, and you track it down by learning the story at the very end, and that's when it's all supposed to culminate. Like, it made complete sense to me. I just wish that they gave the viewers more hints, even though I guessed who it was gonna be. I guessed who it was gonna be from the first time that I saw the character. I was like, okay, this is gonna be it. I just know it. But even then, when they're explaining it, I just didn't like the way they did it. But other than that, I actually did have a fun time with the movie. I will say it was really horny all the time. I don't know why. It just was like literally constantly, it was just horny. I will say maybe it showed better connection between the two characters, but even then, like, I understood the characters had a connection without all of these air humping. Other than that, some things that I actually liked about the movie, I will say the cast was pretty good. Like, every problematic person you could think of was in this cast, but it wasn't a bad cast. Gal Gadot was actually better than I thought she was going to be. She really surprised me in this movie. She still wasn't like good, but she surprised me. Armie Hammer was obviously good. The guy who plays the main detective, he was actually really good as well. And just the supporting cast as a whole, everyone was great, and I think they all played their roles perfectly. No one did too much to try and outshine a character that actually had more purpose. So that's one thing I did like about the movie. I will say, just as a whole, cast was great. Story was kind of weak, and in my opinion, it took a little bit too long to get it started, but once it did get started, it actually just completely took off. Like, it was slow moments within like interrogation scenes and stuff like that, but you could still feel that undertone pace just keeping up and keep going. But as a whole, I enjoyed this movie. I just don't have like too many good things, and I don't have too many bad things. It's just like the one big bad thing is just super outweighs everything else. As a whole, I'd still give Death on the Nile a solid 7 out of 10. I think it was just a good movie. I think in the beginning it built up for a lot better potential, and it just kind of fell flat towards the end, especially through that detective story and explaining everything to us. Let me know what you think of Death on the Nile in the comments down below. That's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace.